Another method for quantifying intensity of bands in the VisionWorks software is to use the area density function. So in this case, if I'm interested in calculating the intensity of these bands based on density, I can go in and measure each one of those bands and give us a density calculation for those. So the first thing I want to do, instead of drawing small little boxes around this area, is I want to zoom in on the functions on the bands that I'm interested in seeing. So down at the bottom here, I have a zoom feature that allows me to click and drag. And if I go over here to the hand feature, I can pan around to the bands that I'm interested in calculating. So the first thing I want to do when I'm doing any kind of analysis is to measure and look for saturated bands, because I may have some very intense bands here that I can't see until I display the saturation. So the way to go about showing that is to click on the Display Control button in the Image tab and go down to the bottom where it says Pseudo Colors, and down at the list say Oversaturation. So that's going to show us any bands that are at the 65,000 pixel rating are going to be showing as red, and 90% of saturation is going to be showing as yellow. So in this case, you can see yellow here is okay because we're within the range, but red means that we're saturated. So densitometry of this particular band is not going to be accurate because it's above what the values are for measuring that. So that's fine. That gives us an idea that all of these bands here are measurable and this one is not. So we can go ahead and turn off the saturation, keeping in mind which band we don't want to measure. And then we're going to go over to the area density value here, and we're going to click on Define Region. In this case, we want to draw a rectangle. So we're just going to draw a rectangle around the biggest band that we're interested in. In that case, this would be this one. And we're going to leave consistent background. So it's most important to measure the background. You can see the gray area here between the top, bottom, left, and right, and be consistent. So I would not want to measure it like that, nor like this. I would want to be consistent in the background that I'm measuring. Once I've drawn that box, I can move that box over to the area I'm interested in. In this band, I know there's a couple of bands here that I want to measure, but I can't see them real well. So if you go back to the Image tab, I can control the histogram by sliding the 65,000 down until I can see these bands. So by making adjustments here, I can see exactly where these two bands are and keep that area consistent. So I'm going to put the middle of those lanes in that box, and I'm going to right click. You can see a number 1 there, and if I pull that box out, it'll make a perfect copy of that band, and I can right click on that one and go to the next one. So here I can see that it's saturated or that it's too bright. So just by dragging this down, I can get a much better idea now of what the size of that particular band should be. By increasing the band area to be consistent again with the band, I can right click and drag and align it and make any adjustments I need to, and right click and go on to the next one. Once I've drawn all of my boxes, in this case I don't want to do this one, so I'm not going to right click on it. I'm going to click OK. So I have 5 boxes here for the bands I'm interested in measuring. I have a known concentration, for instance, for this one. So let's set this one at 100%. So I'm going to go over to where it says area density, and I'm going to click on calibration, and I'm going to click on amount calibration because we have a known amount for this band. In this band here, we have band number 5. So if we go over to the data points and click on add, I can pull down the list and choose band number 5, and I'd like it to be 100%, or 50 nanograms, or whatever you'd like that value of that known band to be. Now the background always comes up, so we're going to click OK here, where the background value always comes up. In this case, we have an automatic background subtraction, and this is based on the size of that box. So the box area is giving an average pixel intensity value and calculating independent background values for each one of these boxes. The background value should be pretty consistent, so if we go to the Results tab here, you can see on the background list, we have a mean background list, that the background value of 10, 11, 14, 14, 13 are very consistent but independent background values. If I look at the values here, you can see check marks for each one of these boxes for any of the data I'm interested in. So I'm interested in the calibrated value, which is my 100% value, the area of the box, the background, and the total density. The total density is measured here background area. You can see the area of the boxes in these two were copied and these two were copied, but this one's independent. And then you can see the measured values here, the calibrated. So band number 5 was at 100%. You can see this is 110, 108, 600%, and 400%, more or less, for each of those values. So that's the best way to do calibrated amounts. If I want to export the data, I can say data, export to CSV or Excel, and it will automatically output that data, export it to any of those programs for integration into your data program. That's area density calculation for density background with known concentrations.